Okay, so in the second part of the video on file handling, we are going to learn how we can open a file for reading and writing, right? And then we are going to start with the process of writing onto a file. Now, writing onto a file is easier than reading from a file. Fine, so let's go through. Now, in order to open a file for writing, right, we can use either the ofstream class or the fstream class, right? Now we need to create our objects first, and using that object we'll be performing write or read operations. However, if you use the ifstream class, the ifstream class can be used for only the read operation, whereas the ofstream class can be used only for the write operation. But fstream can be used for both read and write. Okay, so whether you want to read from a file or you want to write onto a file, we must open the file. So there are two ways in which a file can be opened. One is by using a member function. Now this member function is a member function of the class ofstream or fstream or ifstream. And the second one is by using a constructor. So when you are creating an object of the stream classes, you can directly open a file by passing an argument into a constructor, or alternatively you can create an object of the stream file and then invoke an open member function, which is a built-in function of the class, and using the open member function you can pass arguments in them and then open a file, right? So let's look at this open member function. Now both the ofstream and the fstream objects use open member function, and open member functions can take two arguments. Now the first argument would be the name and the location of the file, right? And the second argument will be the mode in which a file needs to be opened. Now if we are using the ofstream object, the ofstream object is mainly concerned with writing onto a file. So the default mode of the ofstream object is to write to a file. Similarly, the default mode for writing for reading from a file is the ifstream class, right? So any object that you create from the ifstream, by default the mode would be a read mode, right? So this can tend to get a little bit confusing, the ofstream and the ifstream, right? So just remember that when you use any ofstream object is used to write to a file, whereas ifstream object is used for reading from a file. Okay, right, so let's look at the next slide. Now here we have a simple example where we are talking about an ofstream object. So if you look at this code, we are creating an object of the ofstream class, right? Now the ofstream class is a default class for writing onto a file, correct? So when you create an ofstream object, here it is out file, and you're using the open function, member function of that class, so you're doing outfile.open, and the argument that you're passing here, is the file name, right? So along with the file name, you can also pass, the open function can also take the second argument, which is the mode in which you want to open the file. The mode could be the read mode or the write mode or the append mode. But since we are using an ofstream class here, and we are creating an object of the ofstream, that means the default mode for an ofstream object would be the write mode. So the second argument is not required here, because by default it is the write mode, right? But if you use the fstream object, now if you use the fstream object, now fstream object is basically the derived class object, right? In that case, you need to specify the mode also in which you want to use the file. So the mode could be a read mode or the write mode, because the fstream object contains both. You can create an object for both the for reading onto a file or for writing onto a file. But if you're creating an object for ofstream, then we are creating an object only for writing onto a file. Okay, so let's look at the next presentation here. Now the second argument which is there in you can also specify in the constructor, or you can specify in the open method, is basically the mode in which the file should be opened. Now, other than the reading and writing modes, there are some other modes as well. However, what I have just mentioned, just a recap of it, that ifstream and ofstream have default modes for reading and writing. So ifstream, that is the input file stream, is for reading, and ofstream, that is the output file stream, is for writing. So when you're using the objects of ifstream, you don't need to specify the mode for reading here. Similarly, if you're using the ofstream object, you don't need to specify the mode for writing, because by default those modes are assigned. All right. So what are the different modes? You can just quickly go through it. So one of the first mode is the append mode. So you write iOS with scope app, tells you that you're going to open the file in append mode. Now append mode is when you are trying to insert some content into a file where the previous content is present. So what it does is it retains the previous content, the existing content in the file is retained, and the new content is appended, right? Then you also have a binary mode, in which the kind we remember in the in the last class I talked to you about there are two different fundamental file types, and one of them is the binary file and the other one is a text file. So if you want to open a file in the binary file mode, then you have to use iOS binary. Similarly, you have iOS in, which is the input mode, and input mode is basically used for reading, and out is the output mode, which is for writing onto a file. And if the file already exists, and if you use the truncate iOS trunk mode, then what happens is all the contents will be truncated. That means it will be overwritten and it will be deleted. Right now, you can also a truncate is little different from the append mode, because in the append mode your previous content will be kept and the new content will be added, whereas in the truncate mode all your previous content is lost and it is replaced by your new content. All right. Now you can also use a combination of these two modes, like because your open member function or the constructor can at the max take only two arguments, and the first argument is going to be the file name or the location of the file, and the second argument is going to be your mode. But if you want to use more than two modes, you can combine them using the bitwise operator. So how do you do that? So suppose you want to use a binary mode along with the input mode where you're going to read, then you have to use iOS binary and then use the bitwise operator which is mentioned here, and then write this mode, right? So you can combine multiple modes in the second argument. Okay, so let's look at this example of ofstream and fstream. Now ofstream is, again, let me reiterate, it's used for writing onto a file. So it's an output file stream which is used for writing onto a file. So here I have created an object of the ofstream class, out file. Now this by default will have the write mode, so I can just open this file by using outfile.open and just specify the name of the file. I don't need to give the second argument. Alright, but if I use the fstream class, now fstream class is basically a derived class of ofstream as well as ifstream. So fstream class has both the properties for reading and writing. So if I create an object of the fstream class here, and I open this and I invoke the open member function of the fstream object, then along with my first argument, which is basically the name or the location of the file, I also need to specify the mode in which I want to open that file in, whether I want to open it in the read mode or in the write mode. But here iOS out is basically for opening a file in the write mode. Okay, so ofstream and fstream, any of those objects can be used for opening a file for writing onto a file. Okay, now if I want to specify more than one modes, for example, if I want to open the file for writing but I want that file to be a binary file, then and I'm using an fstream class object, so this is the example. So I create an object of the fstream class, I open the file using that object, I specify the name of the file. Now this is when I am opening a file for writing onto a file. If this file does not exist, for example, if this file does not exist, then it will by default create a file with this name, right? And what I'm doing here is I am using two modes here. So I'm opening this file for writing, that is output, and along with that I have appended here using a bitwise operator in the binary format. So here I'm opening a file for writing and that file is of a binary file format. Okay, so what we saw was how to open a file using the open member function. So next what we're going to discuss is how we can open the file by using the constructor, and it's very simple. So if you want to use a constructor to open the file, again, if you use ofstream, by default the mode is write, that is out, right? So you don't need to specify. So when you're creating an object of the ofstream class, you can pass the first argument, which is the file location and the name, in the constructor as an argument. This will directly open that file. Similarly, if you're using an fstream object, so you create a fstream object here. Since fstream has both the input and the output properties, that means both the read and the write properties for a file, you have to specify in the constructor the second argument, which is nothing but the out mode, which is that you're going to use or open this file for writing into a file, right? So it's very simple here. Like we use the open member function, you have one argument or two arguments. Similarly, you can have one argument or two arguments even in the constructor. Okay, so let's see the different classes that are involved when we want to read from a file, right? So if we need to open a file for reading, then the important thing is the file must already exist. Now, in the case of writing, if the file does not exist, a new file with the name will automatically be created, but not in this case, right? So in order to read from a file, you can either use the ifstream class or you can use the fstream class. Now fstream is a common class that you can use for both read and write. ofstream object cannot be used because it is a stream class for only the read operations, right? I think this is pretty much clear. Now let's look at an example from the code perspective of how we can actually do the same thing, and it's very simple here. In place of the ofstream, which we used for writing onto a file, here we are using the ifstream, and the fstream is the same thing. So here we create an ifstream object, and using the ifstream object we are opening the file for reading. Now this file should have already been there. It is not going to be created if this file does not exist. Now since the ifstream class has by default got which mode? Here it's the in mode. The in mode is for reading, so you don't need to specify the in mode. Whereas, but if you use the fstream class, you need to specify the mode. So you can either use the in mode or you can use the out mode. Out mode is for writing onto a file. In mode is for reading from a file. So we are talking about reading, so we are using the in mode here. Similarly, if you use a constructor, so if you're using an ifstream, we don't need to specify the second argument in the constructor, because by default that is in. Whereas if you use the fstream, then we must specify the second argument as in. All right. Is it possible to open a file for both reading and writing at the same time? Yes, we can do that. Now, in order to do that, the best way is to use the fstream object, because the fstream object or the fstream class gives you the property for both reading and writing. So you must create an object of the fstream class, and that object can have both the modes, that means reading and writing. If you use the ofstream or ifstream, then you cannot perform both the read and write operations using the same object, right? So if you look at an example here, I have created an fstream object, and using this fstream object I am opening a file. Now the file name is student.dat, and if you look here, I have two modes, the in mode and the out mode, and both are appended. That means you are appending the modes using a bitwise operator. Now in this case what happens? I can perform both the read and the write operations, right, for this file. That means I can use the same object, that is a file, to perform both the read and the write operations on the file. And the same thing, if you want to use a constructor to do that, then here we have a constructor called as a file. So in that constructor, while I'm creating an object of the fstream class, I have supplied two arguments here, and these arguments are going to do the same thing. That means they're going to open a file in both the modes, the reading and the writing mode. So you can use the same object for both reading and writing. However, the important point here is that object should belong to the fstream class, which is a derived class of the ifstream and the ofstream class. Okay, and the last part, once you open a file and you perform the operations, we need to go and close the file. So the file should be closed after the read or write operations is completed. The closing of the files frees up the system resources. We've discussed this in the previous video, and it will also help in avoiding the sharing problems. And how we can close a file: there is a member function called as close, which takes no argument. So what we need to do is we need to invoke this member function using the objects that we created, objects of the file stream class. And if you look at an example of that, so if you have opened a file for writing, that means I have used an ofstream class here, and using the ofstream object I'm opening the file, and the default mode is writing, so I don't need to specify the second argument here. And then what I need to do is take this object, that is out file here, and invoke the close method member function. So outfile.close will close this file. Similarly, if you have opened a file for reading, so I have used an ifstream, so I don't need to specify the second argument here, because by default it is for reading. And once my work is done, then I need to close that file. So I just take the object which I have created here, and then using this object I invoke the member function close, and the file is closed. Okay, so today we've discussed how to open a file and how to close a file, and the various stream classes available to do that. So in the next video that I'll be sharing with you very soon, we'll be talking about how you can actually write a program in order to read and write to a file. So till then, just revise through all the previous videos and this one, and then I'll see you soon. Stay home, stay safe. Bye.